Hey, this is my personal ranking of Linkin Park's debut album, Hybrid Theory. These are all my opinions, and I don't expect anyone to agree with me on everything. This is my second attempt at making something like this, so it's very rough, but I hope you enjoy it nonetheless. I love this album, and I'm planning to make ranking videos for every Linkin Park album, so stick around the channel if you enjoy this one and you're interested in seeing more. So without further ado, here's my ranking. Who didn't see this coming? Cure for the Itch is at the bottom of my Hybrid Theory ranking. Don't get me wrong, Johan still did an amazing job, but it's just not the same without the angsty rapping and singing that the rest of the album is famous for. My favorite thing about this track is, unironically, the name, which I didn't realize until I saw a YouTube comment while getting one of the clips for this video. The joke is that the cure for an itch is a scratch, which, DJ Scratch. I'm gonna shut up. Unpopular opinion, I am not a huge fan of Crawling. Obviously, it's one of Linkin Park's most well-known songs, being one of the band's 24 to reach the Billboard Hot 100 charts. Whether it's from seeing a music video on TV or seeing a funny vine with a bunch of dinosaurs singing the song, Crawling's chorus can be recognized by just about anybody in America today. And a common complaint because of that I see about this song is that it's a bit too angry, and the vocals feel a bit forced in order to emphasize the anger within the song. I totally agree with this point. Crawling is just a bit too much, even for me, because it doesn't flow very well musically, and the stark contrast between the lighter and heavier parts doesn't really work. It also doesn't help that everything but the chorus feels boring, and the chorus isn't even much better than that. Although I must admit I do enjoy the outro. Not a bad song, just pretty overrated, especially considering many of the amazing songs on the rest of the album. Runaway is probably, other than Cure for the Itch, the least loved song on this album by the community. Honestly, I can see why. It's pretty basic compared to the others, and many people say the screaming in the bridge was just forced to try and save the song. And while I kind of agree with that statement, I still like the bridge being my favorite part of the track. My biggest gripe with Runaway is that it's just kind of there. It's not very memorable on such an amazing album, and it's never really hits like most of Linkin Park's other music does. Not much to say, just a decent song. High Voltage is one of the most difficult songs on this list to place. Sometimes a song that's really hard, and others it's just difficult to listen to. This and the next one in the video are pretty interchangeable, so don't get mad at me in the comments for putting it so low. I actually tend to like the more Mike Shinoda heavy tracks, and this one is no different, so I'm not just biased against the rap focus of the song. It's also hard to pick my favorite part, so I guess I'll just pick the last chorus because of the cool transition from the bridge. One non-musical thing I love about this track is seeing how happy Mike looks in the live performances. You can see the slight difference between most of their other songs and this one in his demeanor, and it's really nice to see Mike getting to shine like this in the Hybrid Theory days. Pushing Me Away was also a very hard to place for me. A somewhat common pattern for Linkin Park's music is that the songs with the stronger lyrics tend to also be stronger musically, and I think this is where we're starting to see that. The songs before this on the list tend to not hit as much lyrically, especially Runaway and Crawling. Pushing Me Away's lyrics are great, from what I can tell, describing a mutually toxic relationship where the singer seems to realize his wrongdoings and decides to let his partner continue to push him away in order to get out of the relationship. Musically, it's not amazing, but definitely better than something like Runaway, for example. The bridge and everything after that, especially the outro, do amazing as the closer for the album, the non-deluxe version, of course. It's a very beautiful song. I like it. Forgotten Despite Its Name is actually a very memorable song. This was the first song I heard from this album aside from In the End and Crawling. I decided to listen to the album at school, but the entire album was blocked on the computers except for Forgotten, so I played it on loop for about 30 minutes to get into that Linkin Park energy for the first time. Musically, it's a bit unorthodox, with very contrasting styles immediately before and after each other throughout the song. The bridge is obviously the best part, it's just very cool. Forgotten's a little weird in its structuring and overall sound. The amount of different tones in it is very interesting, and I'd say that the guys pulled it off pretty well, being on their first album. Another unpopular opinion, kind of. In the End seems to be a very polarizing song in the fan base. Many people having it as their number one, with an equal amount of people seem to put it at the very bottom. I think it's closer to the middle of Hybrid Theory, personally. Admittedly, I did give In the End a slight boost because of its influence on Linkin Park and therefore the entire rock scene of the 2000s. I think it deserves that much for giving the band their biggest hit. In the End's recognizability is unfathomable, having probably one of the most well-known choruses of any song ever made, at least in the 21st century. Obviously, this is the first track I ever heard from Linkin Park, but surprisingly, it's not the one that got me into the band. That honor goes to Faint and One Step Closer. I never really loved this track, per se. I've always liked it, but the lack of that signature hybrid theory tone really holds this song back and keeps it from climbing higher in the ranking. Additionally, the song's sheer popularity has a negative impact on the fanbase, with a surprisingly high number of fans straying away from any of the band's other work that's even slightly too light or slightly too heavy. Other than that, though, I do like this song, and I'm endlessly grateful for it bringing Linkin Park into the spotlight as they deserve. My December is a depressing masterpiece. It's rare that a band can execute something where the sounds, lyrics, vocals, and everything all intertwine perfectly. The message is, in short, about loneliness and the longing to do anything or to give anything away to stop being lonely. The chorus is unforgettable lyrically, probably one of the most beautiful songs ever made in the 21st century, every element flowing to perfect the atmosphere and message. I love the outro especially, just how I think it's a cello and the turntables fade out in the final minute. The pre-chorus is also so dreamy. I love the combination of the vocal harmonies and Mike's whisper rapping. Musically, My December is a very satisfying track overall, without a doubt one of the best examples of turntables being seamlessly incorporated into a tone where they would not normally work, like a sad song. The drums are also very subtle and not overdone, which is a very common aspect of Linkin Park's music other than the Hunting Party and some other songs, that Rob Bourdon is a master at. Especially in the sad and slow songs, other than this one, the prioritizing of the vocals and piano is taken too far, but I think My December is very well balanced in terms of putting all the different sounds together to have a more cohesive tone. None of the other instruments are trying to be backseat drivers, let's say. They all know their place in this song. My only complaint is that I think it would have worked better as the closing song for the deluxe version of Hybrid Theory, but it's not really important. By Myself, another pretty polarizing song from this album. I think this one is generally more liked than, say, Runaway, for instance, but it's oddly similar to Runaway in its general sound. The reasons By Myself is so much higher are that the chorus is much heavier, the screamo feels less out of place, and the bridge is a lot better. Honestly, the verses in this song aren't that great. Lyrically, sure, they're fine, but they're also very boring. The rest of the song is a different story, however. The chorus takes it from 0 to 100 immediately, with Chester screaming coming in full force and Mike's rapping without skipping a beat. The pace is extreme. There are a bunch of sounds going on in the background that just make everything more chaotic and all over the place. Voice crack. Then it calms down a bit with some actual singing. The best part of the song, obviously, is the bridge. The bridge definitely saves the song. Without it, By Myself would probably be a few spots down on this list. There's not a ton I can say about this track, but it's very nice. First time I listened to Hybrid Theory, With You was one of the songs that caught my attention the most, and that still stands to this day. With You has a very nice flow, which can be mostly attributed to the scratching and low guitar undertone that is present throughout most of this song. While the verses do sound basically the same as half the ones on the album, the rest of the song definitely picks it back up. The pre-chorus and chorus are very catchy and memorable, especially the pre-chorus with the heavy guitar in the background. I think With You is the Hybrid Theory song. Let me explain. It has similarities to almost every other song on the album, making it a great spokesperson for Hybrid Theory, you could say. The song does have a bit of heartbreak, though. The line, "Even if you're not with me, I'm with you," is absolutely soul-crushing when you realize how it relates to Chester. But on the other hand, these real-life events make the song that much more beautiful. Place for My Head is a song that is A Place for My Head is a song that has steadily risen up the rankings for basically as long as I've been a Linkin Park fan. It's a very angry track, which is just pink Linkin Park in my opinion. It's my favorite style that they do, especially in Meteora. I like how this song starts out acoustic and calm, and slowly progresses into being just really angry and fed up with the world. If you watched my Star Set video, which I really doubt, one of the things I talked about with a lot of my favorite songs was the storytelling side of the music. A Place for My Head is a solid example of storytelling in music when it comes to cohesion between the lyrics, vocal style, and instrumentals at the same time. What I mean by this is that as the lyrics get angrier, so do the vocals and instrumentals, or vice versa. The best example of this in the song is the bridge, where Chester is whispering and then starts screaming like he just hit the breaking point in the situation. Also with the outro, I love how the screaming and rapping come together to deliver the final blow. Mike's rapping sounds even angrier in that final verse. Great song, very well done structurally, and the message is something a lot of people, including myself, can relate to. Points of Authority is obviously one of the most classic Linkin Park songs. The opening rap is iconic, same with the catchy guitar riff. I think it's a riff, I don't really know what it means. The general sentiment of struggling in a relationship or friendship where the other person is selfish is sort of similar to A Place for My Head, which is a big plus for me personally. I especially love the last line of the chorus, "You want to share what you've been through," as it implies that the other person is either playing victim or is choosing to ignore that they're abusing the other person. That rap is just awesome as well. You cannot not sing along with it when it comes on. It's like a legal obligation. I signed a contract. There's a lot more I could say here, but I'll leave with talking about the outro, which is just perfect for the song. It calls back to the intro, both with Mike's whispering, I guess, and the extremely catchy guitar riff. This is where we're getting into top 10 Linkin Park territory. Paper Cut, another timeless classic. This is one of the few songs I love that I can play around my friends and not get made fun of relentlessly. Sometimes. I said this as my ringtone because, paranoia. I love the theme of paranoia and anxiety, and the overall sense of urgency and panic in this song, especially in the verses, is just great. There's not a single bad part of this track, and I think it's held up better over time than most all songs from the 2000s. The catchy doo-doo-doo-doo combined with the turntables and guitar riff are staples of Linkin Park. While I can't personally relate to the paranoia the song describes, I can certainly recognize the general sense of being rushed and panic over something seemingly insignificant. Paper Cut is a prime example of how masterful this band is at conveying emotions and feelings through their music, even more obscure ones like Paranoia in this case. Another great thing in this song is more accessible than most of the other songs on the album, save for maybe In the End, of course. You can play it and not have everyone worry about you, as long as they didn't look too far into the lyrics. Here's a list of small things I love about the song that aren't recognized enough. Chester's song rapping in the chorus, the little turntable as Mike says skin right before the chorus, that little bass riff at 2:29 in, and just the general rushed feeling of the song. But yeah, overall an amazing song. Definitely my top 5 Linkin Park songs for sure. Here it is, the moment that absolutely no one has been waiting for. By the way, if you watched the whole video, thank you, and I'm very sorry. One Step Closer is one of the 2 songs I credit with getting me into Linkin Park, the other being Faint. At the time of hearing this for the first time, the only other Linkin Park songs I heard were In the End and Numb, which none of really hooked me into the band on their own. I remember sitting in 4th period English class one day last December, and this song came up on my playlist, which must have been a Christmas miracle, since the school computers had pretty much everything, even slightly dark, blocked. It was the bridge specifically that got my attention, because my friend beside me was being so annoying and he just needed to shut up. Sorry, it's the truth. Okay, now for the actual music. One Step Closer was the first single released by Linkin Park, coming out just under 2 months before the release of the album. It's famous for the pure angriness and angst that every teenager feels when their parents make a perfectly valid point in an argument. Just kidding, that doesn't happen. Everything from the opening riff to the final lyric is just flawlessly angry. Chester's singing is just so totally perfect for the song that it's hard to fathom. Now, I was considering doing a little lyrical analysis for this, but that would just be a waste of time. You can easily tell from listening to the song what it's about. There's not really an alternative for me to rant about. I would go deeper into this, but I don't know if my parents watch my videos, and if they do, then I could get in some hot water for this. I will say though, that this song has had a considerable impact on my life, and I love it for that. So, Hybrid Theory. This album is great. Definitely my second favorite Linkin Park album, and in my top 30 all-time albums for the time being. Hybrid Theory is oddly similar to 3 Days Grace's first album, and I know this one came first, but It's noticeably rougher and more angsty for the most part than the second album, and while I definitely prefer Meteora, this album is still an absolute work of art. The top 3 especially have cemented themselves as some of my favorite songs ever. By the way, if you want to check out my Spotify account, I don't make music, but I made custom playlists for many of my favorite bands, as well as the S tier playlist on my account, which is like my favorites. The top 3 songs in this video are in that playlist. I will leave a link in the description if you're interested. Again, great album. I totally recommend it if you like rock, or even if you don't like rock. You never know. You could love it. And with that said, thanks for watching. See ya.